Blog Talk Radio.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and children of the darkness, the light, and wherever you are. Know that we are with you. This is Yvonne Mason, and this is my show, Off the Chain. And for those of you who have been with me since the beginning of my show, you know why I call it Off the Chain. Anything can happen, usually does, and so I'm never surprised. Last night's show was very interesting, if you haven't heard it yet. If you have, you know what happened. If you haven't, I interviewed a author friend of mine named Patricia Neely Dorsey, and we were having a nice conversation, getting ready to discuss one of her poems, and I get a caller in. No problem. I answer the phone, and I said, "Hello, caller. Do you have a question for Patricia?" And he says, "Yes, I do. I've been kind of off the grid for a while. I went camping, so I don't know what's been going on, but I just want to say that I don't understand why people disappear out of your life." And I'm thinking, well, okay, I don't know where this is leading, but we'll play along for a minute. Then all of a sudden he says, like Gene Wilder, I don't know what happened to Gene Wilder. And Patricia and I both said at the same time, he died last week. Oh, my Lord, you would have thought that somebody had beheaded his dog. He started squalling and crying, and he says, oh, I've got to tell my wife, and he tells his wife, and in the background she's screeching like a banshee, and he says, she really loved Gene Wilder. And I'm thinking, we all die, people. It happens. Get over it. So we couldn't get him off the phone, so I muted him. So he hangs up, and then he proceeds to call again and again and again. Finally, I just quit answering the calls because I didn't know if it was him or not. So I say all this to say this. This is why I call my show Off the Chain. Tonight is no different. My guest tonight is an eclectic band who I've fallen in love with because they think like I do. They do not have a box that they operate out of. They just do their thing and have quite a following. The band is called Cyphier. It is an industrial electro band, and they are from London, Ontario. The band consists of Louis Cyphier, who does the vocals and the electronics, and Jason Norwood. He does the synthesizer, the percussion, and the vocals. Cyphier was formed in 2015 out of a desire to explore varied musical influences. I'm going to tell you, this band is as varied as the day is long. The experimentalism of early industrial bands like Cabaret, Voltaire, and Skinny Puppy, combined with a more modern electronic sound, defines this unique vision and sound of Cypher. Prior to Cypher, Lewis was a well-known industrial DJ in North America. Norwood, aside from running his label Hope Mansion Recordings, has been recording various forms of electronic and alternative music for about 25 years. This pair originally met around the turn of the century while Lewis was a DJ in London. Cypher's first album, Overthought, was recorded as a concept record with a heavy anti-suicide message, and it was released in the early fall of 2015. In 2016, the band released their follow-up, Subversion, while on tour in eastern Canada. The second album blends the experimental sound of Overthought while adding a more danceable touch. Both albums have been released through Hope Mansion Recordings, and the song, ladies and gentlemen, that you just heard was called Dark Mistress by the band Cypher. Good evening, Jason, Matthew, and Lewis. How are you tonight, and welcome?
Great. Happy Internet Day. Internet, it's Friday. We're drinking.
It is Friday, and it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's always 5 o'clock somewhere around here.
Well, I want to start out getting one of you guys to explain to me, first of all, what made you write your first album. And I think, is Dark Mistress on that first album, or is it on the second album?
No, it's on the first one.
Okay. This first album has an anti-suicidal message. What drove y'all to write the songs that are on this album?
Wow, this one, you're looking at me like I got to answer this one. I got it, man. I got it. So I'm actually really active in anti-suicide groups. I'm a 4-time attempt suicide survivor. One day I woke up and realized this is stupid. I should, probably live for a while. There's still a lot of people I haven't pissed off. I think it was important to get out because a lot of people, not so much for the people that are out there thinking, hey, maybe I should kill myself, the world's a better place, but the people that are around those people that don't recognize the signs. So the idea of the album is that it's a guy, we have a character in it, and we just call him the man in the room. We've never given him a name. If someone wants to call in and name him, that's cool, we can do that. It'll change tomorrow. But, and it's what he goes through on that final night. So that song, Dark Mistress, was literally, he fell asleep in this room and is dreaming about some nebulous woman that he hasn't met yet. And it's so from a male perspective, because statistically more men are killed by suicide than war. And the idea being that a large part of men, for whatever reason, define their life by women that like them. And I thought it was that particular track, which I'm so cool. It's so cool you played it because it was the furthest song from my mind when you talked about this show, which is so cool. But really, that song, that's what that's all about. It's pretty much what every guy thinks at some point. So that's what Overthought about was I wanted to tell my story from another person's eyes, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
So yeah, that's where Overthought came from, and the way it was recorded, if I may. Oh, go ahead.
If you must.
Matt actually, originally, Cypher was me and Matt. Mm-hmm. And then Matt got really busy with something, so it became me and Jay. So we'll get to how Matt got involved in a minute. That's kind of cool. But what happened was Jay and I's schedules couldn't line up. So that album is a perfect example of what you can do with new technology. I fucking recorded that with my cell phone. All of the lyrics were recorded as poems on my cell phone, and I sent them to Jay. And Jay literally cut up those poems and put music behind them. And about 2 hours after I would send him the poem, he'd send me back this song. And I think and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but I think what shocked him the most was I would immediately respond with, I fucking love this. We were still on the same page for the first 5 or 6 tracks. Now, we'll get back to the song you chose for your opening, Dark Mistress. That is the only song, I think, that I objected to the original mix of when you sent it to me. Yeah. I hated it. I didn't even want to put it on the record. And then we talked on the phone. It was the first phone conversation we'd had because all of a sudden he's like, whoa, hold on. What the fuck just happened? Everything else has just been one and done. Now I've got to work. And
I was waiting for it, actually.
Oh, you were? Okay. So we got on the phone and I explained to him that, this is this guy in this room and this is his dream. And Jay suddenly, all of a sudden, it was like, I got to go. And he hung up on me and I'm like, what the fuck? And the next thing I get that back and I'm like, I love this. And he's like, okay, we're back on track. Really, that's how we did the album. And then, like I said, Matt was originally part of it. We've recently found out. I got to throw this in because we brought that up. Recently found out as a preventative measure, and okay, everybody, before you start messaging me and calling in to make sure it's okay, he's fucking fine. Already happened. Got about 100
it's
messages
a done deal. Now, when we were waiting for the show to start, you told me a story about this song. Tell our audience about the kerfluffle during a live event with this song.
So if you're out in Eastern Canada and you're in the St. Stephen's area, check out one of the coolest bars I've ever been in, a place called People's Pub. The people that run it are fucking awesome. But this was our first show on our Eastern Canadian tour, which incidentally was also our first tour. And I had sent Jay the set list the morning before, and I had put Dark Mistress on the set list, which prompted a phone call saying, are you sure? And I said, yep, I think we can do this live. So we were performing the song live, to which I was like, all right, totally into this song. So we get to that song live, and I'm trying to explain it, and we do the song, and all of a sudden, it's a room full of primarily women. And the song ended, and they had been cheering after every song into it, and literally the room was dead silent. And I hear this one lady who I've actually, as a friend, have become very good friends with, and her only statement was, well, that was awkward.
Now, see, I love the song. I understand the song.
I hope other people do now that we've explained it.
Well, I want to know how you tell me how you and Jay met. How did you and Matt meet?
Well, I've known Matt for decades. I've known him since he was a little kid.
I met these guys. I pretty much lived in a closet in London when we got here originally as a family. I met these guys because I took over DJing a club called The Layer downtown, 25 years ago? 20, I think. Something like that. It was, and these guys were regulars that came in, and every time they'd come in, they'd make this point of buying me this excessive amount of alcohol. And it never failed. If the two of them were in the room, I was pissed loaded. They were fine. I was pissed loaded.
I wouldn't say I was fine.
Because we were dancing and you were like standing up there drinking.
And so Matt and I Matt was promoting a charity event I was doing as a DJ, my first show back in London in 20 years, I think, where we were partying for pussy. And as offensive as that sounds, we were actually supporting an animal rescue. And Matt was promoting it, and during that promotion period, I said to Matt, you write music? He said, yeah. I said, well, what if I sent you a bunch of just my political rants and shit, and you set it to music? Hence how the whole first album was recorded. So it really was the three of our brainchild inadvertently.
I just didn't have to do any work.
We went out and did all the hard work. Now he's going to commit and save the day again. That's what he does. fucking asshole.
Kind of like cool and get all the way.
He's the big rock star that, ladies, if you're at a show, I'm taking, Jay's taking, Matt, however.
I'm very single.
He's very single.
I'm very single.
If you look up his Facebook page, there's a reason.
Well, let me ask you guys this. What prompted y'all to go with this genre of music?
We just love it. I mean, it's been something that's what was played when Cyphier was DJing way back in the day, and it's just always been like a connection for all of us. So really, without that specific genre, we wouldn't have met. So it's natural that would be the progression we take in any creative endeavors together. I mean, I have stuff on the side completely different to this. It's like, straight up punk rock, black metal, whatever, all that kind of stuff. But I like pushing buttons. What can I say?
I understand that, believe it or not. I do understand that.
There was
as y'all get to know me, you will know that Yvonne does push buttons.
Oh,
and you were saying, dear.
That's part of my hobby.
He asked me repeatedly how I can stand working with him.
Uh-oh.
Usually, it's a true story. When we were bringing Matt on board to do the live performances for Jay, I said to Jay, "Don't worry about it, man. I'll buy him a sumo suit." So nobody feels like they're missing out on anything.
Yeah, if you look at my Facebook, you'll see I'm about a third of the man that Jay is.
Dude, you're literally Jack Skellington. Okay, let's just get it out there. You're skinny as fuck.
Gotta get the fat joke in.
Let me ask y'all this. Yep. Is your audience as varied as the lyrics to your music, or do you generate toward a younger audience, middle-aged audience, or is it just a whole combination of ages?
I got a story for this. You go first.
Okay. Basically, it was a lot of industrial music, given the fact that it's been around now for a couple of decades. I mean, it really began in the late 70s, but sorry. Yeah, ask me the question again. I'm sorry.
It sounds like y'all are having way too much fun, and I'm so jealous.
You're on the phone with a bunch of Canadians who are glued to the TV watching baseball.
My question was.
I don't get taken over by Canada.
This year, the Jays are
That's okay.
The World Series. Fuck the American pastime. It's now Canadian.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this show is completely off the chain, and we never know what's going to happen.
Give me your rather boring logical answer.
Ask me the question again.
Okay, the question is this.
Sorry.
Do y'all drive toward a specific age group, or do you run the whole spectrum from young to teens to young adults to middle-aged to older?
We get responses from pretty much from everybody, which is surprising in a way. But I mean, it's we've gotten positive responses from, like you said, across the spectrum. So it's nice to see that. It's really cool to see that.
Because what it tells me is that people are open to this style of music. Now, tell me, why is it called industrial music?
Well, that actually goes back to back in the day, there was this record label called Industrial Records, and it was based around music that was came out of more experimental noise styles and music concrete and things like that. So you had bands like Throbbing Gristle and White House, and they identified around, because they were released on Industrial Records, they identified around that, and it sort of became a sound, and then it became associated more with electronic music, even though early on it was more of a analog noise base. And so it's just kind of evolved. But it kind of refers to this very, it was developed in the 80s, so it's very much modernist genre, and it taps into a lot of the anxiety about encroaching technology and the lack of the individual within the system. So there's a lot of really, the notion of totalitarianism is one of those tropes that extends throughout industrial music, and I think a lot of that comes from its Cold War, original point that it came out of, that point in time. Oh, I'm very high, and I'm a recovering political flux, so I tie everything back to politics.
Where did it start? Did it start in North America? Did it start in Europe?
No, in Europe. In the 1970s in Europe. That really came out actually out of performance art troops, and it kind of tapped into the punk rock movement as well at the same time. People like Genesis P. Orridge, like I said, from Robin Gristle, he was very much about that sort of formative ideas about taking atonal sounds and taking the sounds of technology and especially of manufacturing. In England, of course, in the 1970s especially, there was still a very powerful manufacturing sector, and those sounds were very influential to a lot of musicians.
Germany was also a big part of industrial music because culturally after World War II, the artists in Germany were all looking for something completely removed from Western culture. They wanted their own identity, and there were other styles of music that came out of it, like Neue Deutsche Welle. But I mean, industrial really latched on to that experimentalism and willingness to do anything different.
And then that just kind of dovetailed in the 80s with the advent of MIDI technology and synthesizers becoming more cost-effective and, most importantly, not as fucking heavy as they were in the 1970s.
So let me ask you. You were talking about MIDI You were talking about MIDI technology. How did they get the sound before we had what we have now? What did they use? I mean, I'm finding this all fascinating because I didn't listen to it. So I'm finding this really.
I feel like cutting you the fuck off because there's a cool story that goes with that.
Okay, go right ahead.
There's no right or wrong way to get the sound for this music. That's what's awesome about it. Whatever you find, like the best industrial story ever. There's a wonderful, wonderful industrial band out there. If you love industrial music, you already know them. But if you don't, check them out. It's KMFDM. Yeah. It does not stand for Kill Motherfucking Depeche Mode as much as people like to think it does.
Karl Marx found that masturbating.
Yes. Anyways, so Depeche Mode's first live show ever was played with a bunch of shot backs.
You said Depeche Mode.
Or not Depeche Mode. Depeche Mode's first live show ever was a bunch of guys giving each other a head on a Friday night. But anyways. KMFDM's first live show was 5 shot backs filled with different shit and a guy yelling over it. Yeah. So
really?
There's no right or wrong way to get to it. You just do what you got to do. Jay, I give them the technical.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been synthesizers played a lot into it because at the time, synthesizers became a thing at the same time as industrial. So the whole thing kind of grew with it in a way. But I mean, you had these gigantic modular synthesizers that, you had to literally plug wires in all over to get a sound through. And that's just that. I have a small modular synthesizer that a friend of mine in Toronto built. Yeah, I know. Kilpatrick Audio. Good friend of mine. But it's, it allowed you to create sounds that didn't have a place in time. Like everybody knows the sound of a guitar or violin, but when analog synthesizers hit, it was like, what's a square wave? You know what I mean? Nobody had heard these sounds before. So, yeah,
and just took his knowledge of guitar tone and threw it into that. So that's an example of an old style meeting new tech, and you get Bob O'Reilly.
I think we're giving Mike a headache.
Well, I'm finding it fascinating. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Off the Chain, and I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and the band Cyphier, who is out of London, Ontario, is on the other end of this conversation, and these guys are amazing. I'm getting a whole lesson in industrial music. I didn't even know this music was out there. And when
That's
these guys
a historian.
Exactly. When they contacted me and told me that they were an industrial music band, I'm going, what? But I have found their music to be extremely fascinating because with the way that my dark mind works, their music works well with my dark mind. And with that being said, I'm going to play Forever Waiting because that's another interesting song. And when it gets through, I want you guys to tell me the history behind this song. So hold on.
I'll take that one for you.
My friends, I lied to you. I told you it was about you. I told you you would like me. And I lied to you. I told you I understand, but I don't. You have a chance for life. You have a prayer for a cure. To embrace the virus and cure it. To win the war with it. To greet the dark mistress. You are nothing like me. I lay on the floor, alone, cold, and still, like I always knew I would. But I watch you from the other side, and I sit here, forever waiting.
How many people were curious about your inner life, your thoughts, your dreams? That, my friends, is the root of your disposability. Nobody takes any interest in your inner life. You were mocked for having feelings. You were mocked for being sensitive. You were mocked and this walls you up. The only time anyone takes interest in you is when you are annoying. So your experience is indifference until you are annoying. That's all you get. As far as attachment goes, you're worthless to everyone. The best you can hope for is indifference. What you're most likely to receive is irritation, frustration, annoyance, punishment. If the answer is no one, then you become hopeless, non-existent in a fundamental way. Nobody really cares about who you are.
say goodbye. We may as well 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 say goodbye.
Yep. Can we lose you? Hello. On.
Did their phone die or something?
Nope, phone's still active. Come on.
Are we there?
It's on
Yes.
hold somehow.
Yes.
Oh, there she is. Hey!
Your song quit on me for some reason. I wasn't sure if it was y'all or the song. Okay, tell me about this song. This is interesting.
That's all mine.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there's the hidden track.
Oh, there's oh, hold on. That was cool. There's actually a hidden track in that album. You heard about 2 seconds of it there. Forever Waiting. Holy shit. What a weird song. Where do I start? So I touched earlier on how I'm a suicide survivor. And when we were writing this album, we realized it was a story. And then somewhere in the back of my head, thank you for sending your beer in front of me, Chuck. I realized it was actually my story in a way. And I kind of conceptualized what would the world be like if I hadn't failed, if I hadn't chosen not to. And that's where Forever Waiting came from. And Jay had found this wonderful speech online that we sampled at the end there. And the first time I listened to it, I remember I was sitting in a chair and I was crying. Man, I was crying because it's everything I felt through my whole life. And really, I think that Forever Waiting was probably my favorite song on that album. But it's one that, while it was playing, an interesting story is we're standing around here, and Matt was going, oh, wow, this song's excellent. I love the noise in it. And I said to him, but it's one I can never do live because of that emotional reaction I had to that song. Dude, your eyes are seriously dead, Chad.
Well, as I was listening, to the mood of the song and to the words of the song, in my mind's eye, I see a person standing on the edge of the precipice, waiting for something, but they don't know what they're waiting for. And the wind is blowing, and the trees are bending, and the sun is going down in the west, and they're just standing there waiting, but they don't know why.
It's
you're not far off. No.
We wanted to leave we talked a lot about how we were going to end the story, and we decided to leave it a little bit ambiguous. Did he actually do it? Did he not? Because when you're thinking suicide, that kind of thing, that kind of ambiguity is going through your mind.
Right.
And so we didn't want to, it's like, we're talking about a character, the man in the room. Okay, are we going to kill him off, or is he going to live to see another day?
And that leaves the answer to the person who is listening to the song, who may be having some thoughts that they should not have, and they're at a crossroads. This is what the song actually is about to me, is that this person is at a crossroads.
Exactly.
And when you guys left it open, everyone who listens to it can draw their own conclusion as to what happened to the character.
I think for me, when we wrote this story, I originally pictured the man in the room was dead and waiting on the other side. Interestingly enough, I've gotten enough feedback with people asking me, what happened to the man in the room? And so he may come back. I mean, one of our favorite bands, Jay and I's favorite bands, is the Mountain Goats. Yeah. They've got a series of albums about the Alpha family. So who knows?
I also have a new record about pro wrestling.
Yes, I know.
But I think that for us, will the man in the room come back is a question we've asked ourselves. We don't know.
We went in other directions with the second album, but I think the ambiguity just came from, when you're sitting there thinking about it, it's a completely ambiguous thing because you're, like you said, you're at the precipice, and you're sitting there going, I could do it, but some people don't.
Tell you from
and
you can sit there and you can do it, and the fact that you're going to shit yourself, you're going to everybody's going to try it, and you don't care. You just don't care because it's about you at that point. It's the most selfish moment any human being can go through. And for me, what always stopped me was initially that the world just, like I said earlier, there's too many people that need something, and I give them something.
Usually irritation.
That's what I enjoy most, yes. But
you can say it's like C.S. Lewis.
Lately, it's like, over the last, how it's coming up, 14, 15 years, it's been about my children. But at the end of the day, the thing about forever waiting is that you're waiting yourself to find out when your mind's going to go there again. And I recently, very recently, as Jake can attest to, went there a couple of times. And Jay actually, through conversation, managed to, and Cindy, who's a wonderful lady, she's not home right now. She gave up the house tonight so we could all do this.
Translation, she didn't want to be sloppy and drunk on the radio.
Well, y'all, I got to drive y'all asses home, so I'm done for the night. I'm drinking coffee now. But, if it hadn't been for those two and things they said, I might have gone there again. So forever waiting, to me, is really all about yourself, and you're waiting to see what you're going to do. Because it's not having a suicidal thought, being suicidal at one point in your life just doesn't fucking end.
Yeah. And Mike and I have been through, Mike and I have been through a lot of similar experience. That too, when I was younger, anyway.
Yeah, we don't drink anymore. That's what I get to.
But
it was rock stars right now, but I'm literally 3 beers deep, and I feel like I've had a 2 4.5.
Yeah, but you've also got like a 6-inch long joint.
What are you talking about? You're not listening to this, Mom.
What's the name of this show again? Off the Chain. But yeah, no, we've had a lot of the same. So I got to on a provincial disclaimer.
We're all medically legal to smoke marijuana. Get your license. We don't do anything. Awesome. We don't do anything illegal. Marijuana is good for many, many things, but get your license before you smoke it. Because if you don't have your license, you're just breaking the law. How is that?
Never break the law because I trained
so
them
you
well.
See,
My
ladies and
background
gentlemen,
in politics has come from that.
You see, ladies and gentlemen, why we call this show Off the Chain. My guest tonight is Cyphier, and they are hysterical, and we never know what's going to come out of their mouths. We're discussing their albums, Overthought and Subversion. Overthought was written and released with an anti-suicide theme. Now, while we're all having a great time tonight, suicide suicide is a prevalent thing, and it's sad and dangerous and a selfish thing. And we were discussing that fact that it is selfish. And the song we just listened to is Forever Waiting. And we will leave it to our listening audience to decide if he did or if he didn't, because the story is unfinished. The story is within each of us. Am I right, gentlemen?
Yes, it is. But the album's also available on every major streaming service. I don't need you to go and buy it unless you want to, in which case it's available on iTunes and Bandcamp, because shameless plugs work. But more importantly, take it as a whole. That album, which is 1 year old on November 24th, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. which we are playing at the Vindicator in London on the 26th to celebrate that 1 year anniversary. The first time we're ever going to play that album in its entirety, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
It'd be
Wow.
cool. But if you get a chance to listen to that record start to finish, you can message us at Cypher on Facebook, and we'll happily hear your suggestion as to whether or not the man in the room should come back. Because we don't know what happened to him. We
don't even know. We just left it. At that.
In the Devilish Fear, there's actually a song that we talked about play later that I'll get into the story of that wasn't going to be on the album that we added because we couldn't write any more of the story, and it just fit right into the album. Yeah, so we just did it anyway. But anyway.
Well, and I think that people that listen to the song can create their own ending or their own continuation, depending on where they are in life, which should give them hope because we are all forever waiting on something.
But Ron, I got to thank you because Jay and I spent hours on the phone when we wrote this album. And one of the things that we hoped more than anything was that people would come up with their own story, their own ideas, their own thing. And what you just said, one time a woman came up to me after a live show and said, "Thank you for making me rethink my life." And
that's the most important thing.
You just said what we want. Music becomes about money at some point.
Yeah.
And we've been so bogged down in that lately that to hear you say that was so refreshing. Thank you so much. That means
you're quite welcome.
More than anything you could ever know to a couple of reflects that maybe someone out there, Bert. We're Canadians. We drink beer. That was about. Not a sob. In Canada, there are three things you have to do: drink beer, eat bacon, and learn to fish. Because if you can't do those three things, you're really fucking bored. There's 5 things to do in the winter in Canada: fish, fight, fuck, forget. Did I mention fucking?
Yes.
Okay, well then shit, I'm not a father. Oh, it's shovel snow. That would be a loss. But seriously, like, to hear someone articulate what we've been saying, someone that we didn't meet till tonight, hear them articulate what Jay and I have been saying for a year now.
Yeah.
It means so much to me. I'm like borderline in tears. These guys are fucking cracking up under their breath. But for a couple old guys, like, we're in our 40s starting this out, and, health issues aside, mental state aside, to know that what we're saying is actually being heard means a lot. And thank you very much for that.
You're quite welcome.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's interesting because when we started working on Overthought, it was more of a tester. It's like, okay, well, send me some of your stuff. I'll build something out of it. There was a certain point at which we were talking on the phone, and we got talking about mental illness and the sometimes inevitable result of that. And all the lyrics had been written and all the songs that had been finished and what was in the pipeline suddenly made sense. And like I said, it's a very personal record for both Mike and I. But at the same time, we took it in the direction we did because it turned out the way it did simply because we realized that we were doing something. And I've always been about talking to people, I have several people online. It's like, look, if you ever need to talk, if you're in a bad place, I will talk to you. I don't care if it's 2 a.m. If I'm online, fire away. And so we created the concept of the album behind that want to say, look, we need you here. There are people who need you here.
And they need to be here.
Exactly. And, everybody contributes something to somebody else's life. That's humanity. And It can be, but go ahead, Mike.
No, dude. We cut each other off. We actually finish each other's sentences. It's fucked up. But one of the things that I think Jay really touched on there is that we do need everybody here. But more importantly to that, a lot of the times, people that are in that state, they don't know if they're being good, bad, indifferent. They don't care. There's so many signs, and people don't pick up on it.
Right.
And someone will say something like, oh, I should just go fucking kill myself. And people think it's a joke. It's not fucking funny. It's never something you need to joke about. I believe in real. When someone says to you, I'm thinking about killing myself, at the end of the day, you make it, you have to take that seriously. And too many people don't.
And you can't dabble in suicide because it's like, it's either or. It's very
dabbling in masturbation.
Yeah.
I mean, you're either going through it or you're not.
Exactly. Binary. Either you do or you don't.
And the thing is, we all have our own personal demons that we deal with on a daily basis. But when we allow those demons to become who we are, that's where the problem comes in.
So you just used a statement that I love. I absolutely love the term personal demons. So we've been debating this for a while, and we're going to start this on October 1st at the Hollywood Star Room in Ripples, BC. Ripples, New Brunswick. Wrong coast, dude. Yeah. But more importantly, we can also do this online. So I'd like to invite people that are listening. Cyphier is the name. We're on Facebook. I think that something that's important about our show is that we try to be emotional. We try to come out, and I share a lot of my demons on the stage, and I give them to the crowd because to me that's very important. It's cathartic.
One of them is named George, actually.
He is. He's a big fat guy. But anyways, when it comes to personal demons, so if you've got something that's eating at you, at Cyphier shows, we want to put little pieces of paper out on the table and have a locked box and literally have you give us your demons because ours are getting lonely.
Yeah, we need
at the end of the day, it's all about making sure that, our fans are okay because we're what we are, but without you guys, we're nothing. And so really, this is something I want to do. I want to have people write down their demons and give them to us. We won't leave them that night. Anonymously, we're not going to judge you.
We are, but anonymously.
We'll anonymously judge you. But one of my favorite websites, and I don't know the name of it, is this website that people send in postcards to this guy. Yeah. And some of the heavy shit that gets put in there is crazy.
Really?
Yeah. Postsecret.com. It basically allows people, they use postcards, and they give true confessions, like some of the darkest secrets in their lives, completely anonymously. But it's just very poignant the way it comes across in the form of a postcard because of how you a postcard captures the moment.
For this, doing it online, obviously, you're not going to get the anonymous nature because you'd be sending it to us directly.
And we're totally going to judge you.
We won't judge people that send us directly. That will judge you, but I want to remind you that is the fill-in right now. No, I'm kidding. But we're not going to judge you.
I actually get paid.
You get paid to get this. I got paid for it to get this. But no, on a serious note, send it to us. Sometimes giving away a demon helps, and sharing it with someone that you don't know can help too. So, yeah, the Jays are losing 5-2. This is wrong. But anyways, this is something we want to do. So when you said bring your personal demons, I think that's something that we've really adopted. It's been something we've been talking about doing, and I think it's something we'll start doing at Ripples. So,
I think that's a good idea. And y'all don't laugh, but I have to tell you something. I just because I am an empath and because I firmly believe that I have done things in another life, I have had this conversation with y'all before at some point in time.
Cool.
Because I just had a complete sense of deja vu with this entire conversation.
That's amazing, because I had a sense of deja vu. I've never fucking had this conversation before, ever. But we love the fact that you feel that way, because that tells me that maybe the things that we do believe in as a group really do stand true. Some would stay there on the other side forever. There's also conversations around. That's really cool.
We make things live at times, but that's because we love the Beatles. And, you know.
No, you love the Beatles. I think the Beatles were the first three-chord wonder, and quite honestly, I Want to Hold Your Hand was the biggest piece of shit ever written.
The Helter Skelter was the first metal song ever.
I heard it in German. Anything in German sounds angry. You can say I love you in German, it sounds like you're fucking telling me. Okay. Save me, these fuckers are nuts. Anyway,
you're the driver, so fuck the chain.
Yeah, they're drunk. I'm sitting here enjoying a coffee.
Oh, I'm envious because you have coffee. Let's play. Go ahead.
More music. She wants to play more music. Shut the fuck up. I had to put on my I somewhat have some sort of control here.
Do we have to put y'all in timeout and each of you in a different corner? Pretty much. Okay. Let me play the Loathing Rope, but before that, let me tell everybody what's going on here. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of y'all that have just tuned into this insane show, and I'm not responsible for the insanity. Well, maybe I am. Anyway, this is Off the Chain, and I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and my guest tonight is the industrial band Cyphier. And for those of y'all that have just joined us, I can't describe the show because there are no words to describe everything that we've talked about up to this point. But I'm going to play one of their songs. It's called The Loathing Rope. Now, my listeners have to understand, I've never heard any of this band's songs up until the last few days when the band agreed and honored me very graciously to come on my show, and I downloaded their music, and I pulled these songs out of a hat to play tonight. These guys had no idea what I had selected, and when I told them what I had selected, they were in shock. Why, I'm not so sure, but we're going to find out. So let's play The Loathing Rope by Cyphier.
Rock-a-bye, baby, on the treetop. When the wind blows, the cradle will rock. When the bough breaks, the cradle will fall, and down will come baby. Cradle and all.
Guys,
Hi.
that song is absolutely amazing.
Wow, that's awesome. Since it almost didn't make it on the first record.
My artist and my writer's mind is just going, the voices won't shut up. Tell me about this song.
So this song is actually probably the only song I've written that's directly directed at someone. I had a friend who she couldn't commit to anything and was going through a really hard time in her life. And I just felt this intense self-hatred from her. And I wrote the loading rope one night after a really angry phone conversation. And I called Jason the next day and I was telling him about it. He's like, I love the title, man. You got to do something with that. And originally, when we wrote Overthought through, we realized the album was only like 26 or something minutes long.
At times that, yeah.
And so I said, let's do the loading rope. And funny enough, it's the only song in the first album I don't sing. It's also a song that has been on every single live set list we've ever had, but has never even played it.
Yes.
We did a video for it. If you go on YouTube and look up the loading rope, it's there.
I will have to do that.
We get a lot of comments on the video. It's people in sensory deprivation rooms and people who actually do put to death. And we get a lot of comments about how creepy it is in the video. And the video came about because I called Jay one day and said, we got to release something, make a video and go. And the next day he sent me this video for the loading rope. And I was like, that's fucking amazing. Like, it's got to go out. So it's actually the only song we played so far. It's actually a single off one of our records. But it's also a song that actually was planned to be on the record. It was a song we wrote and that we originally crapped out, and Jay rewrote that to give it the cadence that it had. Go ahead, man. That's your baby, rock it.
Yeah. No, it was the first song. It was the first song where I actually got up the nerve to sing, through a vocoder, but he'd sent me this really long poem called The Loading Rope. And one of the reasons why the song is so long was because I originally had planned to put the poem in as is. But I said, can I grab these lyrics and play with them? And Mike and I are completely open to any idea we have. So I just, I was listening to the music that I'd written, and I'm just, kind of keeping his words, but developing it more as a proper song. And it once we'd rewritten it, we found it really fit the story. So that's when we decided to include it.
Well, it's haunting.
I think that one of the things I love about that song is at the start of it, with the nursery rhymes.
Yes.
We do all our recording ourselves, and that's the only song we were actually in the same room on that album. And Jay's got two little boys, and they were running around in the other room, and they were being awful good and super quiet. And these kids are awesome. And I looked at his youngest son, Tyler, and I said, "Can you sing something for me?" And he did. And he actually appears on the second record on the song God Thing as well. But Tyler has become kind of a sort of a staple on Cypher records, a little loathing road.
He's really curious about what I do. So, when Mike and I were actually, I was recording his vocals, and Tyler was like, can I sing something? And, we kind of looked at each other. It's like, what, and my son came up with the creepiest stuff I've ever heard. And I was looking at him like,
what have I done wrong? Great things in that song. And Tyler
that's what drew me to the song in the beginning, because you have this children's nursery rhyme, and then you have these children laughing, and then the song just goes completely on the dark side.
Beautiful.
And you don't want to turn it off because you don't know where it's going.
No, and that's what we like about it. I like to refer to it as more of a progressive industrial band, because we try to take things where they've never been. One of the lines in that song that is probably my favorite line on any Cypher song we've done to date, whether it's on an album, a single, or just something we fucked around with. One day when I'm much drunker than now, ask me about Jesus is Coming Again. It's something that they take the record because we were afraid to get drunk over by the Vatican. One of my favorite lines in that song is there's a whisper at the start of it. And if you listen to it, Tyler starts whispering, "Help him." And this was unprompted, without the storyline being imparted on him. So he knew nothing about the man in the room. He knew nothing about the suicidal thoughts. And all of a sudden, you've got this child's voice saying, "Help him." And I remember the first time I heard it. I called Jay immediately, and I said, "Jay, you've got to listen to this." And he goes, "I know, that's why it's there."
Well, if people are horror fans, and I have a lot of authors who write horror, that song could be the background to an epic horror story, because you hear this. Go ahead.
Interestingly enough, we've been approached by a London film that's being made by a filmmaker here in London, and one of the songs they want to use in their movie is that song. So
I can see why.
They heard it, and the first thing they said was, "Oh my God, can I use the Loathing Road?" We had another artist that watched the video that was going to play a show with us in Montreal. Unfortunately, they've had to back out because of the date. And her response to me was, "I watched the Loathing Road video and couldn't sleep." So, to me, that tells me the song has got the power that we wanted it to. One of the things that we like to do with our music is smack you in the face. One of the things that I tell Jay all the time when we're recording music is, "Hey, Jay, give me a punch in the face here." And I think
highly musical terminology.
Really, I'm a sadist. I like being punched. I'm a masochist too. So he punches me. He abuses me. How? No, I'm kidding. Really?
He's a strange person, but then I like strange people.
I'm a self-professed asshole.
Why did you call it? Why did you call it the Loathing Rope? What's the story behind the title of the song?
Well, one of the lines in the song, I've always been obsessed with things like, one of my favorite videos as a kid was Faces of Death, which is actually a video of real people dying. I was a very strange child. But the loathing rope, one of the lines is swinging from the gallows to the loathing rope. And I think, to me, the reason for that title was, A, it had a cool ring to it. There's one on a solo record I'm doing called Make America Hate Again. So, it's right up there. I like things that are catchy. But more importantly, we all have a loathing rope, right? Everybody's got that rope of self-hatred. And I think that the loathing rope, to me, it just made sense. Because you can either hate yourself and drive yourself into a pit, or, you can use it for what it is and take that self-hatred and turn it into a positive. But for the most part, our character in the story doesn't manage to turn it into a positive, and the loathing ropes, broken toys and shattered dreams. It's all of our children. It's all of our childhoods, right?
A lot of the sounds I used in the song were innocence versus adulthood. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
I mean that's where we kind of our eyes went wide when Tyler did what he did. Because
you start off with the whisper, help him, and then you go to the nursery rhyme, then you go to the little kid banging on the piano and the giggles, and then all of a sudden it just goes a complete 180 into a different sphere altogether, and you're wondering, where is this journey going to take me? And it goes back, I think, to, am I going to hate myself the rest of my life, or am I going to put on my big girl panties and say, I can't change what is in the past. All I can do is change my present and move on with my future.
And I think you're hitting the nail right in the head. One of the great things about music and literature and art in general is that it means something different to every person that hears, sees, or reads it. And it's really refreshing that we're able to communicate that message clear enough that someone's picking it up. It means whatever you want it to mean. To me, what you get from what I do, whether it's over a record or live, what you get from it is cool. At one point, we discussed having an intro to our live show that was literally a disclaimer saying how we don't care what you do as long as you feel something. So if listening to our music makes you feel anything, then we've won the war right there. That's what music's about. So there are a lot of artists that go out there and they want to make money, Chad Kroger.
Gotta mention Chad Kroger.
I hate Chad Kroger. Nickelback to me is
live and off the chain.
The same value.
Exactly.
Music like Nickelback, I mean, to me, that's not even musical.
No.
It's a load of shit. It's pre-manufactured.
Stop showing up on tangents about Nickelback.
I can't help it. It fits the discussion.
Water is wet, Nickelback not.
Anyways,
live on Off the Chain.
When I first heard Nickelback, I heard How You Remind Me, like everybody else. And I thought this is a really cool song. And then I heard everything else they ever did, and it was the exact same fucking cool song. And when we got this all going, I said the one thing we can never do is write music to make money. And unfortunately, prior to this radio show, we had kind of had to, for requirement reasons, take a turn into the money realm. And I'm really glad we got to hear from someone that sees what we're trying to accomplish, because it really takes away that whole money is everything feeling.
Yes, because as the great philosopher Cyndi Lauper once said, money changes everything.
And I was just told actually by one of the management team that don't change a fucking thing you do, because what you do is great. So, I know. Musically, I think that you have to dive into it, and you have to believe it. I find it really intriguing when people say to me after a live show, what is this song about? And I'll look at them and go, whatever you want it to be about. And they go.
And therein lies the problem with a lot of the so-called music that is out there today. On one of my earlier shows, we were discussing music and how it has evolved or not evolved. And back in the dark ages, when I was a teenager, music had a middle, a beginning, and an end, and had a story.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the music today does not have those components, and it's like opening up an empty book. All you're doing is being bombarded with notes and words, and there's no logic to it. Your music has logic to it, because what your music does is it tells the person who's listening to it, hey, we all have little demons, we all have self-loathing, but what we choose to do with that is either the end of our song or the beginning of our song or the continuation of our song. Am I right in that assumption?
What a great analogy for it. I think that one of the things that we've always said is if one person keeps their story going because they heard our record, then it's worth writing. So you really nailed what we tried to do with Overthought, right on the head. You got a choice. You can call it quits. You can keep going, or you can hit pause. It's up to you. So really, you're from a musical perspective. One of our biggest influences is a band called Kraftwerk out of Germany, and they do a song called "The Hall of Mirrors," which we've talked about, trying to cover, and we've never actually done it because we're not sure we can do it the justice it deserves. But it very much is it's a thank you so much. You have no idea how much that means to you.
And the reason I say that is because I've never heard the song, but when you said the Hall of Mirrors, with my writer's mind, I'm thinking we all live in a hall of mirrors, and we've been discussing this all night long about we see ourselves as several different personalities, people, whatever, and we presume that the rest of the world sees us that way too. You guys could do that song justice.
Well, and I think someday it will come out. We're not sure if it'll be on a record or be.
I think I've got one musical line away from having it function.
But the point being is that band influences us because their music tells a story, whether it's the very goofy Pocket Calculator right up to Hall of Mirrors or Autobahn. I mean, their music tells a story start to finish.
I think the idea of a concept album, like when I'm a child of the 70s, so when I think of an album, I think of a self-contained story, which in the 70s and early 80s, there was a lot. If you made an album, there was sort of an overall thread to it, and that doesn't happen now. Basically, it's hits and filler on a lot of albums. So, to me, to be able to, for Overthought to take a turn into, to go from kind of proof of concept to the story it tells, I think in any art it's important to do something that's going to have an effect. And I mean, there's so many causes to get behind out there. But, Mike and I can look at each other. We know what each other's been through in life. So, Overthought gets to be personal, and it gets to be a story. That's one reason why we say listen to it end to end, simply because, we realize at a certain point this is a concept album, not just a string of songs together.
And because of what you guys have been through in your lives, that experience that life's lessons comes through in the music, which in turn your listening audience picks up on, because, like you say, it's more than just a string of words put to a few notes. There is passion there. There is pain there. There is hope there. There is despair. There's sadness. It's a whole realm of human emotions comes through. All of the good artists, whether they're musicians, writers, or painters, if they are good, those human emotions show up in their work. Beethoven, Mozart, Picasso, those were some of the greats, and in their music you hear the death, the pain, the happiness, the whole range of emotions that comes through the work that you guys do.
I think that, wow, first off, to put us in the same category as those people makes my eyes kind of tear up a little. To me, when I listen to classical music, which I really think is the start of industrial, it's new sound created in a huge bank of sounds. And for us, it's so amazing to be able to do this, that, you know, the youngest age of the three of us is 40, you know, to be able to just get started a year ago and have so many people turn around and say, wow, this is relevant. I think a lot of what you hear is life experience coming out. We're not 20-year-old kids banging away on a drum. Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you're a 20-year-old kid banging on a drum, keep banging. I want to hear what you have to say. But to get to those, to kind of that twilight part of your life and just start living through music, really is for us an amazing experience. But to put all those human emotions into a record and have other people share them, and we've had people break down and cry at live shows. We've had people, like I said, thank us for making them rethink their life. One of the most memorable moments for me live was playing a Christmas show, and at Christmas time, that's the highest suicide rate, and we just had Overthought at the time, and I remember making a speech at that show, and coming home and sitting down in front of my computer and finding out that the club owner had actually recorded that speech and shared it out as a kind of a public service announcement. That meant a lot to me. So knowing that even as you get to the point where mentally you may not all be all there, because none of us are all there. Physically, as a wrestling match we recently went through, physically to not be able to dedicate yourself to touring and doing all the things that young kids can do like that, you know, with a snap of the fingers, to be able to keep going and to be able to keep doing this, it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, we're not overtly, quote-unquote, religious folk by any stretch. If you've heard God Thing off the second album, you can kind of predict that. The chorus line is, I don't give a fuck about this God thing. So, I mean, but the idea to be able to stand there at our age and say, we can keep up with the young kids. We recently had an experience at a festival where kids were playing, like, I literally got the nickname Grandpa at the festival, which was okay. I mean, but after our set, people came up and said, wow, what you do is cool. We appreciated it. But to be able to keep doing this at this age is really important to us.
Well, at this age, what you all bring to your music is something that a 20-year-old cannot, and that is wisdom.
Well, let's not go that far.
I'm serious. Think about this. They may have the knowledge, and there's a difference in knowledge and wisdom. They may have the knowledge of how to make music. Y'all have the knowledge and the wisdom of how to not only make the music, create the music the atmosphere, and the lasting effect?
I think Paul Simon once said that you can never really start writing songs and stories and songs until you're 30. You're in your 30s. I think
you have no life experience.
That the perspective, over time, your perspective changes on things, and pretty much all we hear is the young perspective, whether it's from a pop music, got to go to the bar, get the women, all that kind of stuff, or the feel good, happy stuff. That all has its place. Don't get me wrong, but really, first of all, I don't think music should have an age, and a lot of the music media, if you're past a certain age, then you're talked about as if you're, over the hill kind of a thing. But
right.
But it's interesting to bring our 40-year-old perspective. Rather, like 15 years ago, we wouldn't have done anything close to that. So I think part of Overthought is part of what we bring to the table is kind of not an alternate perspective that doesn't normally happen. I know my perception now at 43 is radically different from when I was in my 20s, and I felt a lot of the same emotions, but at 43 now, there's a different perspective, and to be able to bring that to the table and just go, look, we might be 43, but what the hell, this needs to be said.
I think one of the things that is hard about being this age, though, is that we are faced with challenges that younger bands aren't. Kids are one of them. One of the big ones that's recently, very, very recently hit us was, health concerns when you're trying to play live and tour and travel and, for whatever reason, it's very personal and things, so I don't want to get into the specifics. But we had to take a preventative step and bring that on board with us to make sure that both Jay and I are capable of continuing on. Matt brings an awesome perspective to music. Christ, what haven't you reviewed is probably a shorter list. He's a musician, he's a music reviewer, he's a great friend to us, and to come in and step in like he has. I am God. Close.
Here we go.
He's also got a bit of an ego. It's okay. But to be able to step in not only for Jay as Matt put it the other day, the button pushing monkey, which is not what they do, guys. They don't just push buttons. They actually play shit on keyboards. And these two, I can't do what I do without them. So it's amazing.
When I was 52 years old, I went to college. I had not been in school since I graduated at 18. Not only did I go to college, but I got a degree in criminal justice, started bounty hunting. I'm 4'11". So when somebody tells me,
you're the exact same height as my wife.
We got to go, dude, because she might be on to us.
And what is so funny is I'm 65 now, and when people say, Yvonne, you can't, I look at them like they have two heads. Age to me is a number.
Exactly. Yvonne, you can do whatever you want to do. It's how you're only as old as you feel, which some days makes me feel about 106. But
then some days I feel 12.
Exactly.
And you'll run with the 12 when you can, It's like everybody's different.
When you have different challenges as you get older to face, you just find ways around them. And when you can find that way around it, it makes you feel better about it, and you can appreciate what you have a little bit more.
Exactly.
So,
and this is what comes through with y'all's music is just because you have changed your number in age, it doesn't mean that you cannot live your dream. And this is what I preach all the time, because people will say to me, well, one day, or I'm too old, or I can't. And I'm saying to myself, why not? What's stopping you but yourself? So just because someone is in their 40s, 50s, or 60s and they still have a dream, there's no reason not to live that dream. Am I right?
There's never a time, in my opinion, that you shouldn't live your dreams. I think that if you're older, you don't have limitations. You just have different opportunities.
Exactly.
And for me, like, I know my back sucks. When I do a show, the next day I'm on a couch. But that's the way it is. I don't begrudge that. The people in my life don't begrudge it. So don't ever let age stop you from doing fuck all. If you do, then you've already lost. You're already dead. Once you stop dreaming, you're dead.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, when you're laying there taking your last breath and you're going, well, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda, it's too late.
Okay, so I think the thing was, before you go on, which one of you fuckers has my letter?
Oh, I think I have it. The way I've always looked at it is when. How do I put this properly?
Just say it.
When you talk about age as a bad, as a negative, you've already kind of sealed your own fate.
Exactly.
I think that anybody who's ever done something they love while exhausted would understand that sentiment. It's like, I might be tired, but I'm doing this anyway. And I think as you age, it's not keeping up with energy, it's keeping up with motivation. And when Overthought started to gel and Mike and I started getting really excited about the collaboration, it was, we're not thinking, well, we're 43 years old, what the fuck are we doing? We're thinking,
let's do this.
And I mean, touring would beat the hell out of anybody, regardless of age. But I think I was alive so much more because it's like, let's tour. Let's go play some shows. And like I said, the thought of being 43, what the hell do you think you're doing to yourself? It's like I was a beaten man when I crawled back into my own house in London, but it was worth it. It was worth every moment of it. And
that wasn't the end of the tour.
Well, yeah.
But no, the funny stories in the tour with that was I walked up and I have a big patio. I have a big white beard, and I walked up to a club owner in Moncton, and I said, "Okay, we're Cyphier, we're here to play." And they said, "Okay," and they showed me where to unload. And then we got the opening band on, and the club owner walked up to me and said, Jay and I were standing side by side, and she kind of leaned in and whispered to me, "Where's the band?"
We're here.
I said, "We are the band." And she said, "But I listened to it. You guys sound much younger than what you look." And I looked at her. I said, "Tell me that at the end of the night." So at the end of the night, she walked up and goes, "Nope, you're just as young as the day you were." And they had an apartment upstairs for us to sleep in. And as I'm holding my back, walking out of the bar, going, "Yeah, tell me that in the morning," kind of thing, right?
What it's like we've said, what we learn to do as we've gotten older, if we want to live our dreams, we find new and inventive ways to live that dream. So if standing up hurts your back, pull up a chair.
I've done that. Usually I end up standing on it. But I'm part monkey, too. That's part of my problem, is that I'm part monkey and I have a wireless microphone. So live, I like to climb on fucking everything. We have clubs here that actually will tell their bartenders before we're coming in, This guy's going to climb all over the bar. Don't bitch, or he's just going to crucify you on the microphone. We had a guy booing us at our last show, and I said, "Go ahead and boo. I don't give a fuck. I got the microphone." So we've been very blessed as two older guys trying to make music, and now three older guys trying to make music. We've been very blessed with a lot of very, very talented musicians that have supported us along the way. Quick shout out to a couple of them. I know we're not supposed to shameless plug, but I have to. People like I'm on Teeth, Panda Beat Catastrophe, Smokin' Dave, just guys that have come out and supported us in such a great way. And here recently in London, we have a service called All Stage. It went down. They're awesome. Jim McCormick from All Stage has been a big supporter of ours from day one, even though originally he saw us as a novelty act, which is all right. We're touring. We can be a novelty act in other cities. We don't care. But at the end of the day, it's really cool to see all these people that do rally around us and say, hey, guys, for us to be asked to come back out east so soon and go out on October 1st was an amazing thing for us. It led to a little bit of headache and health issues and all that, but it was an amazing thing for us to say, hey, we'll be back.
Exactly.
A sumo suit and stand in later, we're good. Joke, I know.
Well, let's play. We have time maybe for one more song. So which one do you want me to play? You want me to play Metamorphosis, Barbed Wire, or Not Sorry?
I would really love you to play Not Sorry.
Okay, let me scroll down and find it. Here it is. So hold on, and we're going to play.
Let me give you a 2-second rundown on this. Anybody that sees us live has never heard this. Because when we play it live, we change the lyrics completely. So this will be so cool for people to hear this.
Okay, let's listen.
Now you're floating.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Not Sorry by the band Cyphier, who is my guest tonight. So, guys, how did you like your song that you didn't change the lyrics on this time?
Wow, that has Mike because that's all him, again, lyric-wise, et cetera, et cetera.
Wow. It's so cool to hear it. I can tell you that I've probably listened to that song maybe twice since we recorded it.
Yes.
It's on a CD in my car, but I don't listen to myself a lot. So to hear it played with the original lyrics, knowing what I say live, it's a very different, very, very different song. It's a much angrier song live. It's actually the one that, other than the song off the first album called Half Truths, has really gained the most ground for us live. Mm-hmm. And it was not one of the original two we thought would. Mm-hmm. But when we do it live, it's much angrier, and it definitely has a clear-cut message for a specific set of people. So, really cool to hear. Thank you very much for playing that. It was nice to listen to, especially with these guys around, right? Because they're both going, "Wow, how do you feel about that?" They're like, "Wow, that was a little weird."
I'm used to hearing myself on record, so it doesn't bother me anymore.
So what was the basis for this song?
It was really, I had an argument with my dad. At 42 years old, yeah, you still argue with your dad. And it was over something not related to music, but we were planning a tour. And just to give you a general idea, two of my kids live in California. One lives with me. Their mom is amazing. One of my good friends, we just didn't work as a couple. And it was my son's time to go visit his mother. And there were so many days that he was going to be gone. And that was so that we could tour, as well as so that he could have more time with his mom. And Not Sorry came out of an argument about when he was coming home. And I came home that night, and I was just so mad. And I wrote Not Sorry, and I think when I first sent it to you, it was like 3 lines and a chorus. That was all it was. Mm-hmm. And Jay said, "Can I please write some on this? Because this is very personal to me, too. Been through a lot of the same things with music with his family." And I think to me, Not Sorry is that I waited till 42 to do this. I'm not sorry I'm doing it now, but I should have done it when I was 25. Instead of, wasting my life working in various kitchens and other things. I think that part of this, it's all about, exactly what the song says. I'm not sorry for other people's expectations of us. We'll deliver what we deliver when we want to. Whether that's live, whether that's on record, whether that's in our personal lives, whether that's anywhere. I think that that's something that we all share, all three of us. And Matt, who apparently disappeared again. But to be very, very candid about that song, it's an intensely personal song. When I do it live, I literally come out of that song
Matthew's peeling
with a feeling of, thank you so much for interrupting the tender moment between me and Yvonne. Urination.
There's always one in every crowd. But when you said that...
No more fucking drugs for you. Anyways, okay, fine, you can have more weed. Don't pout.
It's not pouting.
But you said something that struck a chord with me, because I didn't publish my first book until I was 54 years old. And I talked to my dad about it, and he and I agreed that had I had the opportunity to publish it when I were younger, I would not have appreciated the journey like I did when I published at 54. And I think it's the same with y'all. You couldn't have appreciated where you are at 25 like you can now.
I think that if we hadn't done what we did at 25, it would have been such a different product. It would have been it would have been a lame attempt to be commercial. And there would have been more bravado. There would have been more bullshit involved. There would have been when you're younger, you have so much more to prove.
Right.
And it's just, once you're older, it really is a lot easier to just do your own thing, because you establish this foundation in your life. And when you do go out on a limb, it seems almost less of a risk, and yet simultaneously the biggest risk ever, because you have more to lose. But you're making those risks in a way, I think when you're younger you don't, because you think, what if I fail? And, by the time you hit 40, you've already failed so many times in your life, and you're still breathing, that you're like, okay, well,
well, you know what? My philosophy of failure is never have tried.
Well, failing.
If you've never tried, you've already failed. If you tried, you succeeded.
Well, exactly. That's just it. So many people talk about achievements, but think about all of the trial and error that went into those achievements before the eureka moment actually happened. Nobody talks about all the times that Einstein got his equations wrong. They just talk about E equals MC squared, as if that exists in a vacuum. As if it wasn't so smart, dude. Well, it's an end result of a process, and that process leads to the result. But when you act like the result is the only thing, it negates the entire process of failing over and over and over again to succeed. And that's music in a nutshell. You ask anybody. How many times? Think about all these bands over the years that tried. Like David Bowie is a fine example of somebody who it took them years into their career before they finally hit the right formula. They tried everything, and they had the same level of talent. They had the same, songwriting ability. They had the same drive and creativity. They just didn't find that one intangible set together. And it's like that with any, it's like baking. You can cook something the same way over and over and over again. You add that one perfect spice, and you have money. You have
voila.
And I think that one of the things that is interesting about failure is I was having a discussion with a lady the other day that's writing a movie, and they were really worried about screwing it up or some guy quit or something. And I said, no matter what you do in life, every time something goes wrong, that's just another opportunity to get better.
Exactly.
I spend a lot of time writing music for a solo project that I'm doing, and I send a lot of it to Jay, and a lot of the time he'll send me back going, that's pretty good. And I always know Jay speak. I speak Jade English. Pretty good means, wow, that's less than what you're capable of. So I spend a lot of mornings just sitting in front of my computer making stuff happen. Because every song that I fail on leads to the one that I want to get my microphone out and record vocals for.
But if you weren't sitting in front, go ahead.
Go ahead.
If you weren't sitting in front of that computer working on something, even though it was not to your perfection, you would have failed because you didn't try.
You have to try. If you don't try, then what's the point?
There you go.
With that, until you actually start to experiment, you're never going to come up with a formula.
It's where you invite the industrial band on and they come up with a country music quote.
Woo! I'm wearing a Johnny Cash t-shirt, so that's cool.
Hey, I'm wearing a Schoolcraft shirt. For those of you that don't know Lindsay Schoolcraft, check her out. But there's a great song by Garth Brooks.
Those words never happen too often, but I actually like Garth Brooks.
And there's a wonderful song called Outside the Fire.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the lines in it is, life is not tried, it is merely survived if you're standing outside the fire. And to me, that line, and I have a thing where you've seen it, Yvonne, I do morning music where I just put up a random video by someone.
Right.
But that song is one that I listen to just about daily. Because at the end of the day, it's so true. You don't live your life unless you try to live it the way that you should. And, I don't care what invisible man you believe in or what philosophy you follow. At the end of the day, you got to come up with your own way. And if you don't try something different in your life, then why are you here again?
On that note, I'm going to say that my life goal as of this moment is to have a rope to swing on like Garth Brooks did at his heyday. Because that was like fun.
It'll happen. I will find a way to rappel into a stadium or into a show one day.
I have reels.
That never fell off. That's rock and roll, dude.
I have reams and reams and reams of tape from stuff that just wasn't good. Everybody's their own stuff.
Everybody has stuff that they started and stuff. Because we're also, in addition to being musicians, we're also writers because we suck. But
right.
We need to release an album of all the songs that suck.
Yeah.
That would be appealing. And you might get something out of it that somebody goes, oh, I like that. That was always the B side of the records. Remember, the B side of the records was the one that usually was the most popular.
There's a band. One of my favorite bands is called. Well, they're not a band, but the group This Mortal Coil. When they started to, when This Mortal Coil released their first single, they had the label. Well, the label head was the guy who ran the project, but he goes, okay, this is the A side, this is the B side. And the B side, which was Song of the Siren, which was a Tim Buckley cover, was so astoundingly amazing that they released another format where it was like a double A side or Song of the Siren was right up front. And I mean, the music industry is full of stories where, the label is so sure that this one song is going to be a hit, and it flops.
Mm-hmm.
But all of a sudden, the buzz is around a song that the label had written off or whatever. So, it's interesting. Especially because we write so quickly.
Yes.
That it's really interesting to get outside opinions and hear, okay, well, I really like this song. And, for us, it was a song that was good, but it wasn't our obvious choice to lead with a single or something like that, Pardon?
Well, we are down to the last few minutes, and before we run out of time, I want one of y'all to tell the audience where your next event's going to be and when.
All right, so if you want to check out Cypher Live, we've got a show coming up next Wednesday night.
Wednesday after, actually.
Wednesday after on the 21st at Pix Rays in London, Ontario, which is our first time there. We're excited about that. October 1st will be the first time Matt's going to play live with the band. At an awesome event. It's a fundraiser for a festival out east. That is the Freedom Festival Fern Mini Festival at the most incredible bar ever, the Hollywood Star Room.
For that one, I've seen the pictures of this place and stories about it. Oh my God,
it's awesome.
It's a beautiful room.
It looks like a 70s Coke den. It's great.
Okay, where can guys? Where can our listening audience find you on the internet?
Everywhere. We're on every major streaming site, so just look up Cypher, CYPH. Don't forget the IER. On every streaming site, we're also on
Bandcamp.
Facebook. That's Cypher.
Yeah.
Bandcamp.
Cypher.net.
Cypher.net is our website. And my friends, coming soon, keep an eye on Cypher.net because there's going to be a little bit of scavenger hunt going on there for new stuff that Jay's working on in his meantime, which is going to be awesome. Lots of internet stuff you can do. We are very responsive on Facebook. If you want
too responsive almost.
If you want to talk to us, we're okay with that. One of us will answer you. There's 3 of us that all have that.
Oh, and we're on Twitter too, Cypher_virus.
Cypher_virus. All sorts of events coming up. Keep an eye on it. We are going to be playing on the Rise Up tour, which is a Canada-wide tour.
And we're going to be heading to the West Coast. So Vancouver, better look out, all those general areas there. We're planning on dipping our toes in the Pacific Ocean.
Now, America, we're going to come see you, we promise.
We want to come to the deep south. We want to try that cooking, that southern cooking. Oh, my
God. They've been bugging us to come down there, so we're working on it. Some of us may have lived in America for 13 years and might have a little bit of a criminal problem getting over the border, but we'll fix it.
Not me.
Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say that to the bounty hunter.
We're going to run out of time, guys. We're going to run out of time.
All right, okay.
Don't leave me, though. It's not time yet. Don't leave me. This is Off the Chain. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and tomorrow night my guest will be author Fran Ornstein. We will be discussing her children's books. The show is at 8 o'clock, as usual. My guest tonight has been the band Cyphier. These guys are absolutely amazing. If you have not listened to their music, when you get through listening to this show, whether it be in archives or whether it be on one of the mini podcasts, which includes iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, Mixcloud, podcast.com, and, of course, Blog Talk Radio on the archives, all of their music tells a story, but the story is yours to finish or yours to continue. It is not a story that is only for one person. You interpret the story to your life. And because the first album is an anti-suicide album, because these guys are very pro-life, they are very pro, let's get on with living and love living, listen to these songs, and if you feel that you just can't go on for whatever reason, and believe me, ladies and gentlemen, I've been in the bottom of that pit, and trust me, that pit is no place to be. It's not fun. Once you get down there, you can't get out without just stubbornness and support. But if you feel like that you just cannot go on, reach out to someone, reach out to one of us, reach out to a hotline, reach out to a minister, to a fireman, to a policeman, to a friend, to a stranger, I don't care. Reach out to somebody, because I learned a long time ago that A, none of us get out alive, and B, we only go around once. There is a purpose for each of us. There is a reason we are all here. And every time we meet someone, we leave a part of ourselves and we take a part of that person with us. Guys, I want to thank you so much for the honor and the privilege of coming on my show and sharing your life, sharing your music.
We love you. The privilege was ours, and what you just said, every one of us is standing in absolute.
We're all like, we're going to go strut our way back home, and tomorrow we'll go back to our boring lives and of mundanity and all that good stuff. Almost out of time.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
I love you, Rose. Love you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to this show. Please listen to Cypher's music, and know that tomorrow night, Fran Ornstein will be on here. You will enjoy listening and talking with her, and hook up with these guys. This is important. I'm telling you, these guys are magnificent. They've opened my eyes to a whole new genre of music that I've just fallen in love with. And until tomorrow night, this is Off the Chain, as you very well know by now. I am your host, Yvonne Mason, and I do write books. Look me up on Amazon. You will find them, everything. So with that, since we're running out of time, I will say good night until tomorrow. And guys, thank you. You have been the absolute best.
Cypher.net.
The privilege was ours. Thank you.
Yes.
And as soon as I get all the podcasts up. I'm going to send them to y'all. I'll send them to all of you. And then y'all put them up on your sites, share them with all your network, have your network share them.
We are shameless with our self-promotion.
Yeah, my label page will also put you out.
Okay. And know that after the first of the year, I want you guys to come back.
Yes.
We would love to. It's an awesome
And let's
topic.
do this again, because the more we get you out to hit there, hopefully the more gigs you'll get, the more recognition you'll get, the more people will buy your music.
Oh, we just love being able to talk with people like yourself. That's what makes this all worthwhile.
Yeah, basically makes Friday night the best kind of work possible, i.e. we get to smoke, drink, and talk on the radio about music. So God bless.
And talk to an awesome person like you. It was great talking
no
to you.
better than that. Well, guys, I'm going to let you guys go. We are now off the air, but our little conversation here will show up in the podcast, and I'm going to leave it in the podcast because
Absolutely.
It's called the after party.
Right on. Thank you so much for having us, Yvonne. We absolutely relish the opportunity to talk with you.
Well, I feel like I've made some new friends. And
all right, I turned off speakers so these fuckers can't talk over us anymore.
Y'all have made my evening, and
what a pleasure.
It.
Thank you so much for understanding what we do and why we do it. You guys have a great night, and we will definitely be back after the first of the year, hon.
All right, sweetheart. Talk to you later.
All right,
Good
bye-bye.
night.